Hello everyone, my name is Evan Joyner and this presentation will evaluate mandatory phishing awareness for local law enforcement agencies. This project focuses on whether a structured training program combined with simulated phishing exercises and employee feedback can reduce risky behavior and improve the reporting of suspicious emails. This topic connects directly to public safety because modern law enforcement agencies rely on emails, digital records, dispatch systems, evidence platforms, and cloud-based services. When one employee is deceived by a phishing message, the consequences can extend beyond information technology and affect investigations, agency operations, evidence security, and public confidence. In this presentation, I will review the problem, the proposed program, the supporting literature and research design, and the expected results, and the policy implications for local agencies. Phishing is often described as an information technology problem, but for law enforcement agencies, it is often an operational public safety risk. According to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center's 2015 Internet Crime Report, phishing and spoofing generated 191,561 complaints and approximately $215.8 million in reported losses. The same report documented approximately $20.9 billion in total reported cybercrime losses, including about $17.7 billion connected to cyber-enabled fraud. These numbers show both the volume of phishing activity and the wider financial environment in which phishing operates. A phishing message may be used to steal credentials, introduce malware, support ransomware, or begin a business email compromising scheme. Local agencies depend on email, computer-aided dispatch, records management systems, body-worn camera systems, and cloud services. Therefore, one careless click can create an agency-wide consequences. The central problem is not simply whether employees finish a training course. The problem is whether the training changes the employee's behavior that the offender tried to exploit. Local law enforcement agencies are suitable targets because they possess valuable information, while often operating with limited cybersecurity staffing and training resources. Agency systems may contain criminal histories, employee records, investigative files, intelligence information, digital evidence, and personal information about victims and witnesses. At the same time, routine police work depends on continuous access to emails, reporting systems, dispatch platforms, databases, and evidence workflows. The course material on law enforcement responses explains that local agencies may not possess the same technical capacity or specialized personnel available to larger federal organizations. This creates a resource gap. In addition, every sworn and non-sworn employee with email access becomes part of an agency's security boundary. The public safety consequence can be summarized through confidentiality, integrity, and availability. A successful attack may expose information, alter corrupt records, or make critical systems unavailable. NIST security guidance and the course lecture on information security both support training employee awareness as part of organizational risk management rather than as an operational administrative activity. The program being evaluated combines mandatory phishing awareness training with simulated phishing exercises. It has 4 connected stages. First, the agency conducts a baseline simulation before training. This establishes the standard click rate, credential submission rate, reporting rate, and average time required to report a suspicious message. Second, employees complete a training module that explains common social engineering tactics, suspicious sender information, risky attachments, fraudulent login pages, urgent requests, and the agency's reporting procedure. Third, the agency sends a realistic but safe simulated phishing message approximately 30 to 60 days after training. Fourth, the program provides immediate feedback and targeted microlearning when an employee takes a risky action. NIST recommends organized security awareness programs, and CISA guidance emphasizes disrupting phishing early in the attack cycle. Marshall and colleagues' 2024 review also indicates that active practice, repeated exposure, and feedback are more promising than passive instruction alone. Most importantly, this evaluation measures behavior. Course completion is an output, but safer decisions and faster reporting are the outcomes that matter. This logic model explains how the proposed program should create measurable results. The input indicates a training platform, information technology, or security personnel, an agency policy, and support from supervisors and command staff. Those inputs support activities such as annual training modules, simulated phishing emails, immediate feedback, and targeted retraining. The direct outputs include training completion rates, the number of suspicious messages reported, simulation results, and knowledge test scores. However, the desired outcomes go further. The agency should see lower click rates, faster reporting, fewer credential disclosures, and stronger operational readiness. The distinction is important in policy evaluation. An agency can report 100% course completion and still have an ineffective program if employees continue to click phishing messages. Therefore, the main evaluation question is whether the observed behavioral changes are large and consistent enough to justify continuing, expanding, or revising the program. The logic model connects resources and activities to evidence that administrators can actually use when making policy decisions. The research literature generally supports phishing training, but it also shows that the design of the training matters. Kamaguru and colleagues evaluated embedded training that teaches users during normal email activity. Their work suggests that instructions connected to the moment of risk can outperform passive warnings that users may ignore. Jensen and colleagues examined mindfulness-based training and found that employees can improve by slowing down, noticing context, and questioning unusual requests instead of reacting automatically. More recently, Marshall, Struman, and Aton conducted a scoping review of phishing training evidence. The review indicates that active practice, repeated training, and feedback are important features of stronger programs. The literature also identifies a limitation. Training is not perfect. Some users remain susceptible, and improvements may decline when training is not reinforced. Gordon and colleagues' study of employee susceptibility in healthcare institutions further demonstrates that the simulated phishing can produce measurable behavioral data in a complex organization. Taken together, the literature supports the proposed program, but it also supports evaluating employees more than once. The key implication is that the agency should measure behavior over time instead of assuming that a complicated annual course creates lasting protection. Routine activities theory provides the theoretical framework for this project. Cohen and Felsen argued that crime becomes more likely when three conditions converge: a motivated offender, a suitable target, and the absence of a capable guardian. In a phishing scenario, the motivated offender may be an individual fraudster, an organized crime group, or ransomware actor. The suitable target is an employee inbox, a set of credentials, or an agency's information system. The absence of a capable guardian appears when employees lack awareness, reporting procedures are unclear, or the organization does not reinforce safe behavior. Mandatory training and simulated phishing exercises are intended to increase capable guardianship. They do this by helping employees recognize warning signs, verify unusual requests, avoid disclosing credentials, report suspicious messages quickly. This framework also connects the project to the course discussion of cybercrime trends and prevention. The program does not remove motivated offenders or eliminate agencies' systems as targets. Instead, it changes the guardianship surrounding those targets by strengthening everyday employee decisions. The primary research question is: does mandatory phishing awareness training reduce employee susceptibility and increase suspicious email reporting in local law enforcement agencies? 5 hypotheses guide the evaluation. Hypothesis 1 predicts that post-training phishing link click rates will be lower than baseline click rates. Hypothesis 2 predicts that credential submission rates will decrease after training. Hypothesis 3 predicts that suspicious email reporting rates will increase. Hypothesis 4 predicts that employees who received repeated simulations and feedback will improve more than employees who receive one-time training. Finally, Hypothesis 5 predicts that prior cybersecurity experience will be associated with stronger performance across simulations. These hypotheses reflect the literature on repeated practice, mindfulness, feedback, and organizational security awareness, but they also create clear decision standards. If clicking and credential submission decline while reports improve, the program is moving behavior in the desired direction. If the results do not indicate, the agency may need to change the training content, simulation frequency, reporting process, or level of supervisory support. The proposed evaluation uses a quasi-experimental pre-test post-test design. The population consists of sworn and non-sworn employees within a law enforcement agency. Before the intervention, employees receive a baseline simulated phishing message. They then complete the mandatory training. Approximately 30 to 60 days later, the agency distributes a follow-up simulation and compares employee behavior with the baseline. The data sources include phishing simulation logs, learning management systems, completion records, cybersecurity knowledge scores, and reports submitted to the help desk or security personnel. The individual employee is the main unit of analysis. Although results can be compared by role or department, this design is quasi-experimental because the agency is evaluating a real organizational problem rather than randomly assigning every employee to a perfectly controlled laboratory condition. The approach remains useful because each employee's baseline behavior can be compared with later behavior. NIST training guidance and the program evaluation literature supports collecting objective performance data instead of relying only on employee opinions about whether the training was helpful. The independent variable is exposure to the phishing awareness program, including training completion and, when applicable, reoccurring simulation and targeted feedback. The dependent variable is the behaviors the program is intending to change. These include whether an employee clicks a link, submits credentials, reports the message, reports within a specific time, and improves on a knowledge test. Control variables include the employee's role, sworn or non-sworn status, years of service, supervisory status, previous cybersecurity training, and frequency of computer use. Several statistical methods can be used. Chi-square tests can be used to compare categorical outcomes across numerous groups. When the same employees are measured before and after training, a McNemar test is appropriate for paired yes or no outcomes, such as whether an employee clicked. Paired t-tests can compare continuous measures such as knowledge scores or reporting time. Logistical regression can examine whether role, experience, or previous training predicts the probability of clicking or reporting after the intervention. These methods are consistent with prior simulated phishing research, including Gordon and colleagues. The core evaluation standard remains changed behavior, not attendance alone. These charts place the proposed program within the current threat environment described by the FBI. On the left, phishing and spoofing produced 191,561 complaints in 2025, which was higher than the other complaint categories shown here, including extortion, investment fraud, personal data breaches, and non-payment or non-delivery schemes. On the right, the FBI reported approximately $20.9 billion in total losses and approximately $17.7 billion in cyber-enabled fraud losses. Investment fraud accounted for about $8.6 billion, business email compromise accounted for $3 billion, and direct phishing or spoofing losses were approximately $216 million. The direct loss figure for phishing is smaller than some fraud categories, but that does not make phishing unimportant. Phishing frequently serves as the initial access method, then enables credential theft, account takeover, business email compromise, malware, and other forms of fraud. For a local agency, the practical lesson is that high-volume entry method deserves a preventive program, even when the final financial loss may be recorded under a different offense category. This chart presents hypothetical expected results for the proposed evaluation. These percentages are not actual findings from a specific agency. They demonstrate the pattern that would support program effectiveness. At baseline, the model estimates that 28% of employees might click the simulated link, 9% might submit credentials, 18% might report the email, and 22% might report it within 1 hour. After training, the expected click rate falls to 12%, and the expected credential submission rate falls to 3%. At the same time, the expected reporting rate rises to 55%, and the percentage reported within 1 hour rises to 64%. This is the desired combination of results because the program should reduce unsafe actions while increasing proactive actions. The expected results model is informed by the findings discussed by Marshall and colleagues, Jensen and colleagues, and NIST training guidance. Even if the exact percentages differ in a real agency, the evaluation should look for the same directional pattern: fewer clicks, fewer credential disclosures, more reports, and faster reports. 3 practical scenarios illustrate why this program matters. The first is credential theft. An employee receives a message that appears to come from the agency, follows a fake login link, and enters a username and password. The offender may then access email, cloud storage, or other connected systems. The second scenario is a business email compromise. An offender impersonates command staff, a finance employee, or a vendor and requests a payment change, a purchase, or sensitive information. The third scenario is a ransomware entry. A malicious attachment or link allows malware to spread into shared devices, record systems, evidence platforms, or other network services. The FBI continues to identify ransomware as a serious threat to government and other critical sectors. While CISA emphasizes stopping phishing early in the attack cycle, the course material also frames law enforcement cyber response around prevention, detection, mitigation, and investigation. These examples show why technical controls alone are not enough. Technical defenses must be combined with employees who recognize suspicious activity and report it quickly enough for the organization to respond. The policy implications are practical. First, agencies should use annual baseline instruction together with quarterly or semi-annual simulations instead of depending on a single yearly course. Secondly, the program should treat reporting as a successful proactive action. A punitive approach may cause employees to hide mistakes, while rapid reporting allows security personnel to block a domain, reset credentials, warn other employees, or isolate a device. Third, training should be role-based. Police officers, dispatchers, records personnel, evidence custodians, financial employees, supervisors, and command staff do not all receive the same messages or face the same risks. Fourth, the agency should create a simple reporting pathway, such as a self-reporting phishing button, a dedicated address, or a help desk process. Fifth, command staff should receive aggregate results as an optional risk indicator. NIST, CISA, and the review by Marshall and colleagues all support structured, reinforced awareness efforts. The central recommendation is to move from compliance training to behavior-based cyber readiness. The program should be continuous, measurable, non-punitive, and integrated into normal agency operations. The proposed evaluation has several limitations. First, employees may behave differently because they know the agency conducts simulations. This measurement effect may produce better simulation behavior than real-world behavior. Secondly, simulation results depend on message realism, difficulty, timing, workload, and the organizational climate surrounding the exercise. Third, results from one local agency may not generalize to a large metropolitan department or a small rural department, a campus police agency, or an organization with a dedicated cyber unit. Fourth, short-term improvement may fade when employees do not receive continued practice and reinforcement. These concerns are consistent with the limitations discussed in the broader phishing training literature, including Marshall and colleagues, a more recent evaluation by Rosema and Davis. Further research should compare one-time training, recurring simulations, immediate feedback models, and role-based training across multiple public safety agencies. Researchers should also examine whether improved reporting during simulations leads to faster information technology actions during actual incidents. The evaluation should therefore be viewed as a strong risk reduction tool, not as proof that training can eliminate phishing. In conclusion, phishing remains a major cybercrime threat because it exploits routine workplace behavior and human trust. Local law enforcement agencies are meaningful targets because they depend on digital infrastructure and maintain information that can affect investigations, personnel, victims, and public confidence. Routine activities theory explains how phishing succeeds when motivated offenders encounter suitable targets without sufficient guardianship. Mandatory phishing awareness training, realistic simulations, immediate feedback, and clear reporting procedures are expected to strengthen that guardianship. The proposed evaluation gives agency administrators a practical method for determining whether training reduces clicks and credential disclosures while increasing timely reporting. The broader conclusion is that the effective cybersecurity policy must change everyday behavior. For local law enforcement, the goal is not simply to document course completion. The goal is operational resilience. Protected information, preserved evidence integrity, and faster operational response when suspicious activity occurs. These are my references for the presentation. This is the complete references used in this project while listed out on this final slide. And I will accompany this with the full sentence outline. This project draws from the FBI and CISA threat information, NIST security awareness guidance, and then I also use routine activities theory and peer-reviewed phishing training. I also draw from the course lectures on law enforcement response times and information systems. Thank you for your time and consideration.